Hello everyone, my name is Deficio. I'm the manager of Ninjas in Pajamas League of Legends team. I am making this vlog to simply explain some of the things that happened with NiP and with the whole Copenhagen Wolves lineup and everything from back when we first qualified to now. There's been a lot of talk on forums, communities that generally NiP is a very bad organization. They get a lot of flack they don't deserve. So I'm basically just gonna explain a lot of the things that's happened and give some more, light from the inside on it so people can actually see exactly how it went down. And everything kind of starts all the way back from when we were Copenhagen Wolves and we qualified for the first split. And we had, coming into the first split, we just took it as fun. It was just an experience. We never expected to qualify. And the whole split was just it was fun. Even when we were 0-9, we still took it as like a learning experience and as just the whole. It was just cool being there. So for us, it wasn't an issue going 0-9. Obviously, once we started winning with Bjergsen, it was fantastic and it kind of gave you the motivation to do more. But before that, it didn't really matter for us. But once the season was over and we got the 5th place and we actually had a chance of getting at least top 4. We kind of changed our ambitions and the motivation was more towards now that we want to go to Worlds. Because obviously if you just got almost top 4 and top 3 as well, you were kind of close and then you want to work for it. So obviously we wanted to do everything we could to get to Worlds. And at the same time we agreed with Copenhagen Wolves to split up. There has been some issues with Copenhagen Wolves on us that didn't work out too well. It was mainly just going down to the fact that Copenhagen Wolves wasn't ready for having an LCS team. There's a lot of work in it. There's a lot of stuff you need to sort, like gaming houses and everything. And they admitted that they didn't have their, they didn't know how to do this properly at this point. So we agreed with them in pretty good manner that we would split up. And this all ended up in basically Copenhagen Wolves saying we want to do everything for you guys, so we will sign over the LCS spot for free to whatever organization you guys choose, which is a very big thing to do because normally you would sell the spot and an organization had to pay a lot of money for it. So them doing that really showed that they are great guys, and I know now for a fact they have sorted all these things. They're ready, and for having the current LCS team they do have now, and everything is sorted, so there's no hard feelings or anything. But joining NiP for us was a huge thing. We had multiple offers from different organizations, but NiP was the one that stood out for us, mainly also because the Counter-Strike team they had we knew worked so well, and we heard a lot of good stuff about like the organization from people. So obviously we were very happy when we joined NiP. And NiP made it clear to us from the start that it was all about us. We were the bosses, if you can say it like that. If we needed anything, if there's something we want to change, then we could tell them and they would help us. And they would do everything they could to make sure that we had everything we needed to perform in game. And when an organization shows you that kind of trust, you want to give it back. Like you want to go in and perform and tell them, yeah, this is how good we are, this is why we're worth it, and this is why you guys want to help us so much. So obviously, once we started boot camping before DreamHack, the first week of LCS, we kind of went in very serious, but at the same time it was pretty obvious from the start with the lineup we had that there was something wrong. People have kind of different mentalities to how you practice really serious, and also people have different mentalities to how do you adapt to the meta. Do you actually want to adapt to the meta, or do you just want to play your own kind of stuff? Now, obviously, DreamHack didn't go too well for us. We went 1-4. It was absolutely horrible, actually. Moscow went 1-2 for us, which meant we were 2-6 after the first 2 weeks. And that's where we suddenly realized that we are not a good team at this moment. We had our weaknesses. We had we didn't have either the team mentality at that point to get better and get good enough to get to Worlds, which obviously was the goal. I mean, obviously the main goal is always just getting top 5 and getting the LCS, but like the ultimate goal is getting to Worlds. So we sat down with NiP, and NiP told us, what do you guys need to sort this? And we talked back and forth as a team, and I think some of us came to the conclusion that we, first of all, we need to go to Cologne in the ESL studio and boot camp for like 2-3 weeks. Just boot camp, just try and regain or like get better during these 2-3 weeks. Because traveling back home, practicing online for 2-3 days and traveling back is a lot of wasted practice. So some of us wanted to do that, and some of us didn't want to do that. And once people kind of started disagreeing on that, it was pretty obvious which people didn't want to, or didn't feel they had the time to invest 100% in this. And that's fair, that's perfectly fine. And they have all the priorities in life, and that's good. But at that point, we wanted to show to NiP, and we wanted to show to our fans and to ourselves that we could get to Worlds, and we could be one of the best teams in Europe. So 3 of us agreed on having to roster change. At first, we only wanted to make 1 change, but it turned into 2 as we had Gabro, who is not able to communicate properly in English at that point. So we had to simply swap him out as well. Obviously, we had Extinct Freeze as our options, which is fantastic players. And once we agreed on this, all 3 of us and NiP together, we went back to our rooms, and then like later that night, Svenskan came into us, and he simply said that he thought this through. He didn't want to go to Cologne to practice every day. He didn't want to leave Gadbro at the same time, and yeah, he generally felt like he was a bit burned out. So he said that he didn't want to continue playing on the team. This obviously was not planned, and this was never this decision that was made. It was not that Svenskan should leave. We wanted to play with him, and we wanted him to be on the team. So it ended up, instead of us doing 2 changes, we had to do 3, which obviously looks worse. Now, we got in Maluno, we got in Extinct and Freeze, and it worked out really well. We went 7-2 with them. I think, yeah, 7-2 was our record, and we really started, just being a top team. So everything worked out there. But then Extinct decided to leave, and it doesn't really surprise me that much that it was him leaving, because he always had a lot of focus on his real life, and he wanted to start studying again and everything. So in that case, that was, accepted. We couldn't really do anything about it, just wish him luck in real life, and then we had to look for a replacement. And we had 2 days to find a replacement before we had to leave for Cologne and play. So we didn't have time to try out, we didn't have time to properly scout anything. So we knew Mimo was a good player. So we went with him, and he took the chance. And obviously for him, this was a very hard decision to make, because he knew also that the meta at this point was completely different from what he's playing. He plays assassin top lanes, and at that point you played mages top lane, or you played tanky top lane. It's like Renekton. So for him, transitioning into that role was very hard, and for us as a team, having him transition into that role was very hard. Also because we couldn't put him on any assassin, as we had Bjergsen, who was playing purely assassins. So that kind of put us in a very weird spot team-wise, and put us, yeah, we dropped a lot in level. That is obviously not Mimo's fault, because it's not his fault that we take him in on this team in the current situation, in the current meta. So he doesn't deserve any of the flack he got at all. Like, he was a great player, he's a great guy. So for him, it was just the wrong timing, pretty much, and the wrong team he joined. But after we went to Gamescom and we failed to get top 5, we kind of sat down again with NiP, and we had to decide on, okay, what to do now. And it was pretty obvious, I think, for everyone. Also, I think Mimer also wanted to leave the team, because everything that happened, like, it just never worked out due to the whole situation. So we split up with Mimer pretty fast, and Mimer quickly found a new team, so that was good. But then we sat with the situation where we wanted a new top laner to fit the playstyle of Bjergsen. And that required a top laner who could play multiple roles. We're talking tanks, we're talking mages, and a bit like Extinct, who was a really good Shen. And at the same time, we also wanted a guy who was very, positive. And that's why we found Kevin. And Kevin wanted to join us, and we offered to SK that we wanted to buy him. At the same time, as we were talking with Kevin, he also suggested Herkybot, who is a very good jungler. He's a very early game minded jungler, or used to be at least. I still think he is. But he's very early game minded. He's very mechanically skilled, which means that he would fit Bjergsen absolutely perfect. Meluna was more a jungler, focusing on team fights, doing like engages and being a more supportive jungler, which is really good. But it was not what we needed for the lineup. We needed someone who could help out Bjergsen in the early game in the lanes and make Bjergsen snowball. If we could make that work, we would have a very, very strong setup. Much like the Lemon Dog setup had with Dexter snowballing Nuke Dog in mid lane. So obviously, once we found out that Hercubot was interested and we talked with Meluna, we told him the situation, and he offered to be more of a coach for NiP, or at least be a sub for NiP, and obviously we accepted that. Now, once we got in Hercubot and Kevin, we actually had the lineup sorted. That was it. We had Kevin, Hercubot, Bjergsen, Freeze, and I. That was the lineup. We didn't want to make any changes. We were just planning on when to move into the gaming house and preparing for relegation. That was the only thing. But then, pretty much out of nowhere, after Worlds, TSM contacts us that they want to buy Bjergsen. And Bjergsen at the same time contacts both NiP and myself, saying, "This is my dream. I really want to join TSM and go to NA." So when a guy comes to you and say it like that, it's pretty hard to just tell him, no, that's not possible. But obviously at the point we had to tell him that we need a replacement. Then you can leave. Then we can sell you. So we had to use a lot of time on trying to find a replacement. We even looked in Asia to see if there was someone we could talk with there and get over. And it was pretty much impossible to find anything until we realized that some of the Lemon Dogs guys, especially Nuke Dog, was very interested in joining NiP as an organization. Now at this point, NiP came to us, the players, also Kevin, and said, "Do you guys want Nuke Dog?" And we all like, "Yeah, we want Nuke Dog. He's the best option. He plays the same kind of style as Bjergsen, and he would fit the team really well." So it was pretty much agreed on that we wanted Nuke Dog. Now at this point, if that had gone through, sure, we had kept the same lineup. All the roster changes talk wouldn't be there, at least not as much. But Nuke Dog was very good friends with both Miffy and Zoro, and he played really well with them, and he didn't want to leave them. And that's perfectly understandable. That's the thing you build up. So we had to make a decision. Either we get in now, the best possible mid lane replacement we can get, or we have to go out and completely bet on a random horse, and every single fan of NiP will absolutely hate us for selling Bjergsen. What do we do? Well, I suggested, also because my idea with eSport was always to not just play, but also have different roles in eSport. So I suggested stepping back to being the manager and the coach of the team, and then Miffy coming in as the support. We agreed on that one, but then we got the last issue with the fact that we had to also bring in Soul0. Now, obviously, normally bringing in a player like Soul0 shouldn't be an issue because he's such a fantastic player, but it was an issue because we had just signed Kevin, and we did not want to do anything wrong against Kevin. Kevin is an absolutely amazing guy. I have the biggest respect for him, but we didn't really have a choice. We were cornered, and that meant that in order for us to get what we felt was a strong lineup and the strongest lineup possible, we had to do that and get in Soul0 instead of Kevin. Which meant at that point that we had to tell Kevin, inform him about this, and we also had to release him from his contract, which basically meant that he could now be signed up as a free agent. Now, the reason we released him was not to say we don't care about you. It was to say we want to help you, and we really tried to help him find teams. We contacted every LCS team telling them that Kevin was now a free agent. You could sign him for free. There was no transfer fee or anything. And he obviously got some offers, and I think we got him on tryout with the news, some teams, and now obviously he's on Alternate, so that's perfect. Again, the way this happened was not the way it was planned. We wanted to have the lineup of Hercubot, Kevin, Bjergsen, Freeze, and I at first. But in eSport, everything happens. In normal sports, it can happen like this. Boom, all of a sudden someone is there, offer one of your players a big, good contract, and your player want to leave, and you have to adjust to that. So we did the best possible thing we could do. And again, this is not NiP going in and telling players, yeah, we want these now. No. This is NiP reacting to the players and what they want to do and how do we make the best team. So once you got this lineup down with Soul Zero, Hercubot, Nuke Dog, Freeze, and Miffy, we felt that we had on paper a really superstar lineup, and a lot of people, at least from the community, felt that too. Obviously, the goal for the whole team was that we would get to Worlds. That's still possible, but not the best start we had gotten. But yeah, obviously we prepared for relegation with this lineup. It was now 100% sorted. This was the lineup, and obviously relegation didn't go as planned. We had a poor performance against KMT. KMT played really, really well. They had a perfect strategy against us. Absolutely, pretty much counted everything we did. They just played so well and they picked so well. So bottom line, we lost. Seems that people are a bit more nervous. Again, when you play relegation compared to play normal LCS, it's a big difference. Because you now play for pretty much your job. If you lose this, your career might be over. So it's a different kind of games, and big props to KMT for the way they played. But that now means that we sit in a situation now where we have to decide what to do. And this is again where NiP comes into play, because NiP has informed myself and the players that they want to support us, and they support whatever decision we decide on. And that's whatever we decide on. They will support that and they will help it. If we decide to play the Challenger Series, they will be there. They will keep the gaming house and pay for that for us, so we can still live in the gaming house even though we only play Challenger Series. If we want to, find out different ways, if people want to stop playing or start studying, they will support that and help people out. So this is purely now the team's decision what to do. And obviously, sadly, I can't actually say too much because I don't know what's going to happen right now. People have not decided. Everyone is back home for Christmas. Everyone is having some days to think. So we talked about a few things, but I'm not going to say anything of that until we actually know anything for sure. But at least at this point, we just have to see what happens. But yeah, obviously the main goal is that the lineup wants to stay together. Now, only thing I actually forgot to mention now was about Freeze, and because people were talking about what's it called? Talking about Freeze and Alliance. The super team, and from there on, and people were like, "Oh, why didn't you let Freeze go?" Well, that's pretty simple. We actually informed Freeze that he could go as long as Alliance just paid the transfer fee, but they didn't want to at that point at least. And at the same time, we were in a situation where Bjergsen was pretty much guaranteed to leave. We were in a situation where we were sorting the thing with the Lemon Dogs guys, and Freeze actually came to us and said, "Now I want to stay." Even before he knew about the new changes, he actually came to us and said, I want to stay in NiP. So it's nothing about us forcing him out or forcing him to stay. He actually had the option, and obviously there was a contract in a way, but that's how it always is with a player who's contracted. Now, that simply just means that the fact that Freeze actually came to us and said, "I want to stay in NiP," means that clearly we did not force him to stay. And NiP would never force a player to stay without his will if there is an option for him to leave. Again, respect the contract. That's how it is in the professional scene. Because as soon as that contract is sorted, then the player, it is his own decision if he wants to leave or not. And that's also why, obviously, NiP, when people contact about players, have always been willing to talk with the organizations that want to buy them and find out a solution. So about the whole flag NiP gets, I think it's very undeserved. Yes, there's been roster changes. Yes, there's been some big ones. We never planned for these big roster changes, but the way that things worked out, we didn't have a choice to do these kind of things. And we can look back at it and say, "Oh, what if Extinct had stayed? Had we gone to Worlds? I don't know." But we had definitely not gone to relegation. And then we had been sitting now in a whole different kind of situation where people would not even be talking about this. So at this point, let's wait and see. And I hope people will realize that NiP as an organization is not trying to hurt eSport or the players. They're actually really, really trying to do a lot for the players. And I hope people will keep that in mind no matter what happens. And from there on, I can just say Merry Christmas. And yeah, see you guys.